Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
We are live. Hello, everyone.
What's up, peeps?
Peeps.
Peeps. When I think peeps, I think like those little yellow
Oh,
bird
yeah.
things.
That
You know what I'm
get
talking
for
about?
Easter.
They're disgusting.
Ugh, so gross.
But apparently people like them because they sell a lot of them. Right? They're always there. So interesting.
Hey, we can see comments.
Ooh, I can cross-post to more pages.
What?
Let's do that.
Heck yeah.
Where should I put it? It has to be a page. It can't be a group.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, well, let's just throw it out there in one of the in the Cash Flow 101 workshop group. How about that?
Alrighty.
We'll throw it out in that page too. There's people that follow that. I don't want to put it on Queen City Suites though.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Pugh?
What?
You realize they moved to Myrtle Beach?
What?
Did you
That's
see that?
right.
Yeah.
I saw your gorgeous house.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, today I saw a picture of like a Ferris wheel, and I'm like, is he living in an amusement park? But, so
That's right.
I think Taylor created a new real estate group down in Myrtle Beach because, well, there apparently wasn't one. So he just created one, and way to go, dude.
That is awesome.
My first thought was, go find us a small multifamily down there, like a fourplex or something like that, and let's turn that thing into a short-term rental. And I haven't looked. My next step was, hey, I need to go look at like what the ordinances are in Myrtle Beach and where to be and all that kind of thing. But yeah, if you can go live at the beach, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would prefer to live at the lake.
that's the difference between me and Wendy.
Yes.
Or Wendy and I is proper grammar.
So now we have to have one of each.
Right. So it's one of those problems where it becomes like, okay, now the dream just got bigger. So Wendy has to have her bud and breakfast at the lake.
That's right.
In the mountains, and then we need a place at the beach. Just got off a Zoom about rental arbitrage. Interesting. Okay.
There you go.
That should be my Zoom, actually. I mean, probably more about that than anybody. But and why not to call it rental arbitrage? But nevertheless,
Well, today's is about why not to call it an Airbnb.
yeah. In fact, that was our podcast this week, and I was like, we need a really good title for that. It's like, why don't we just say what we really want to say? For the love of God, stop calling it that. Stop calling it an Airbnb. And there's a like super good reason for it that involves mindset, which is one of the things that you're really into, like nowadays.
I am.
When he's like super mindset person.
I
So
am. I have to block out all the negativity in the world and protect my mindset so that I can move forward and be positive. It can be a positive influence for people.
that's true. You really do have to protect your mindset.
You really do.
Especially today. It's really easy. So this is some off topic, but it's something that I thought was really interesting because I find it to be true. Mindset is super easy when everybody around you has a great mindset, or when society in general is going well. So like pre-COVID, well, let's just say pre-2020, you saw all these people that were kind of like rah-rah mindset and all this kind of thing, and some of those people have dropped off because it became harder to protect that mindset. And so some of those, and Taylor's one of those. He's always been a huge mindset person. He's probably in a position right now in this world where he's going to excel quite a bit just because he's already practiced that discipline of protecting his mindset. And that's a super important thing. But that isn't what we were going to talk about, really, right?
No.
We go down rabbit holes quite often. Yes.
It'll rein you back in.
Sorry. So I'm not going to talk, and I'm going to let you go.
That's not true.
You're much more structured than me.
Well, yes, that's right. Taylor uses his Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah, so I think about Taylor. He's like, when I go in a place that has a TV on, he's like, shh.
Yep.
He just doesn't want to hear it. Yeah.
I hear you. So, and I do that too, right? I put in my YouTube videos, my motivational videos, and that's what we listen to in the car and anywhere else that
I
we
don't
go.
think I've listened to the actual radio in like forever.
No, it's been a really long time. So today, what we wanted to talk about was one of the things that we talked about on our podcast that just dropped on Monday was this whole perspective shift of not calling it an Airbnb and why you don't call it an Airbnb. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is we are not an Airbnb business, and here's why. So the whole concept of short-term rentals has actually been around for a really long time, like centuries, and it precedes Airbnb, right? Airbnb just came along in what, 2006?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like
It was in the
that.
2000s.
Something like that. So this concept of short-term rentals has actually been around for a long time, and way before Airbnb. Airbnb just made it easier for, people with properties and people with a need to come together. So if it's not an Airbnb, and a lot of people think of it as a vacation rental as well, right?
Yeah, you hear that. Like, is this vacation rentals?
Right. And it's not, it's possibly not that as well. Possibly, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Depends on where you are.
If you're in Myrtle Beach, it probably is.
If you're in Myrtle Beach.
But not necessarily. I mean,
Exactly.
there are people that live in Myrtle Beach full time, like Taylor. And if a tree falls on Taylor's house, he needs a place to stay, right? And he might not want to stay in a hotel. He might, because I happen to know they have a family with a young child, and I think you guys have pets too. So that, for us, if you see this nasty dog that's right here,
and the other one is
that's like over 100 pounds, and the other one that's over, it's hard for us as a family to find a hotel that actually works. In fact, the last time we stayed in a hotel, it was technically pet friendly,
right,
but it was dogs under 20 pounds, which they don't fit.
Her butt, maybe.
It was like one dog under 20 pounds, and we paid the fee, but there was nowhere else to stay.
We went up in there,
And so we
100-pound dogs.
took them in the other exit.
It's hard.
But yeah, so it would have been a much more comfortable, the 2 pups, yeah. So it would have been much more comfortable for us to be in an actual spot, like a house, or even like an apartment or a condo would have been better situation, right? Because there's a kitchen, there's a, and not to mention, hey, there's this virus thing going around, whether you believe it or not. I kind of weirded out by being in, an elevator and pressing the same button that everybody else does. Like, I'll use my shirt, right, and hit it. And so if I can just eliminate that as a problem, that's just a plus, right? So, sorry, I go down rabbit holes. Keep going.
Yeah. So, but that's part of it, is that it's not just Airbnb. It's not just vacation rentals. It can be many things. So let's talk about what it is, what it actually is. And what you're actually doing is you are just providing another form of housing on a short-term basis, right? So there's a difference between long-term and short-term. When you're a long-term landlord, you are providing a house or whatever it is on a long-term, usually a 12-month basis, right?
At least, right?
At least.
If you're a landlord, you probably want them in there forever, right? As long as they're willing to pay you rent, you're willing to have them.
But usually a lease is for 12 months.
Right. But in exchange for that, large amount of time, you are actually offering these people a discount. Mm-hmm. And so we prefer to think of things in terms of time and customer, right? So we never say we're an Airbnb business or we're a home away business, because those have nothing to do with the amount of time we're selling, and they have nothing to do with the customer we're serving. What those really are places to market. They're marketing channels. An Airbnb is nothing more than a glorified Craigslist that allows people to do other things, like actually book the place, and they facilitate payments and things like that, right? A HomeAway is the same thing, and Booking.com is the same thing. In fact, there are like 75 different platforms, many of you probably never heard of, because if at least if you're in the U.S., we have an international audience, but if you're in the U.S., a lot of those just don't exist in the U.S. They exist overseas. So there's tons of them. Flipkey's another one.
Yep.
Can name a bunch. If I asked people to name them, they would start naming them, right? But the danger in it and the mindset problem with that is actually became really apparent here as this pandemic happened.
Yep.
Because a lot of people that, for one reason or another, said, hey, I'm an Airbnb business and that's where I list. And by the way, a lot of these people also list on other platforms. They may be on HomeAway, they may be on other places. That's kind of not the point. The point is that because they thought of themselves that way, because that was their mindset, because they were so platform focused on where the people were coming from rather than who they were, right? And what the core of their business really was, which is temporary housing, that they got caught flat-footed, and a lot of them went out of business because nobody was booking, nobody was traveling, they're like, hey, we're a vacation rental. Nobody can go to vacation rentals. And then you start hearing things like, well, you can't do that in Florida. The governor banned it, right? And people just accept that as, okay, well, I can't rent my beach house because the governor said I couldn't, right? But if you change your mindset, if you change your perspective to say what I'm really providing is housing, and housing is fundamental, just like eating. Housing is fundamental, just like water. It's like food and water. Humans need shelter, and as long as humans need shelter, and they constantly do, then you have a viable business. So, as a concrete example of that, one of the things we did is we shifted our focus from Airbnb because the clients just weren't coming. They're back now, by the way, at lower prices, but they're back. But just because they weren't there. So we shifted our focus to, okay, since we're at the core temporary housing, who can we serve, right? And those people ended up being folks that had a closing and their new house wasn't ready. That's somebody that needs temporary housing. People still die during a pandemic. There's funerals. People come for those. That's something. If you live near a military base, the government does not close, especially the U.S. Army does not close. The Air Force doesn't close, right? Those people are on either permanent change of station, which means they're changing bases, quote, permanently, but means longer term, and they now are kind of in between housing until they find a permanent solution. Or you have people that are on training. So if you live near a military base, that's a great customer to serve, right? Another one that we serve that in the Charlotte market, we're not near a military base, not close enough anyway. So we focused on those realtor clients, where they're in between housing, and we also focused on people that had insurance claims because trees still fall on houses, right? And those people need a place to go.
Pipes still break in houses.
If a tree falls on my house or the pipes break and the house gets flooded, well, me and Wendy? I don't know. Me, Wendy, CJ, Emma, our two children, Ziva the dog, Mona the cat, and May the other big dog need a place to go. And a hotel room really isn't a great solution for us, especially if it's going to take them a month to fix the thing, which it usually does.
And we need a kitchen.
Yeah,
and the kids need bedrooms.
Right, and all of those things.
Right.
So
we need space.
So as a provider of temporary housing, we become a solution for that person. So we're able to survive and be resilient even in the middle of a pandemic. And it's because we don't go around saying we're Airbnb-ing our house.
Right.
So we're an Airbnb.
Platform focused.
Yes.
When you call it an Airbnb, your focus is on the platform. How do they come to you, not who they are. So we had to pivot our perspective and focus on who are these people that are coming. Okay, so they're not coming for graduations or
that was our big thing before.
Reunions or
Events.
any kind of events. Those things aren't happening
Like in
anymore.
Charlotte, there aren't Panthers games.
Right.
At least not with fans. You know,
And they're
the Hornets aren't
probably-
playing. The
Right.
Checkers aren't playing. There's no plays. All of those things that you think about, people. There's no NASCAR races,
Yep.
right, where people can go. So all of those things you think about, like why would people travel to Charlotte? That's not happening right now, and a lot of people that just kind of jumped on the bandwagon and said, "Hey, I'm going to go set up an Airbnb," are in trouble. So for those people, here's some help for you. You know, here's another way to think about it. Start thinking about, you know, what other things in the market can I serve? Can I go down to, and I'm very Charlotte centric, but can I go down to Levine's Children's Pediatric Cancer Center and say, hey, do you have people coming to town that have a child that's
Great
coming
one.
for cancer treatment,
Yep.
and you need a place that's not a hotel room with a lobby and a virus and all that kind of thing, because when you're doing cancer treatments, you're very vulnerable to anything, really. And so if I can provide that person a separate home with a separate HVAC and, you know, non-contact with other humans, then that's a great benefit to them, and they just have to know who I am. So part of the reliance on Airbnb is it's very inefficient at that. It's very efficient at reaching people that are international travelers, especially. It's very efficient in reaching people that are national travelers, like people coming from other cities and towns and states. But
not-
right now, there's not a ton of people coming from other city, towns, and states. And so you got to think about, how do I reach the people that are local or regional, right? How do I reach people coming from Raleigh? How do I reach people coming from Greensboro? How do I reach people in Charlotte that need what we have?
Right, because the need is still there.
Yes, because at its core, it's housing. It's a rental. It's a rental that is typically less than 12 months, and that's why we get a premium for that rental, and that's why we do it. Because if you think about it, that, you know, that's another concept, another kind of shift in perspective you might have. If you're a long-term landlord, if you think about this not in terms of customer but in terms of time, what you're really doing is you're wholesaling the time of that property. So you're selling it in 12-month chunks. Even if you're a month-to-month landlord, because I know landlords are like, well, we only do month-to-month leases, but they don't do it because they want the people to stay every month. They do it so that it's easier to evict. They really want them to stay there as long as possible, right? So they're whole, and because of that, they're providing the place unfurnished. They're providing it oftentimes without utilities, and for that they get those people that are buying get a wholesale price, just like when I go to Costco and buy 48 rolls of toilet paper, I get a wholesale price,
That's a good analogy.
right? But I can also go to Target if I don't need 48 rolls of. Well,
Right.
toilet paper is probably a bad example because everybody's hoarding toilet paper. But like paper towels, or you get the idea. You know, you buy in bulk at Costco and you buy it, and that's a wholesale price. You buy in smaller quantities at a Target, and that's a retail price, and the prices are different. And so that's all we really do in our business is we take time, we chop it up into pieces, and we sell it retail. So
Pizza.
yes, so it's no different
Pizza's a
than
good-
really
good
a
analogy.
long-term landlording. We're just selling shorter periods of time.
Yep.
And then you have to go find the people that need shorter periods of time, and
Right.
that's really all it is. So I encourage you, stop saying that.
For the love of God.
Yes. Stop using a what is just really a marketing channel as a verb.
We're down.
Like I'm Airbnb-ing something, or
I'm staying at an Airbnb.
well, Airbnb technically is a noun, though,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because
is.
it's a company.
Mhm.
But people, you know, your house isn't an Airbnb, right? It's a rental. And the only thing that you might say it's an Airbnb is if that's the only place you are. Well, then I guess that's true. But that's what we're trying to kind of tell you too, is don't just be there, right? You can get customers from Zillow, We do. You can get customers from apartments.com. You can get customers by going to the hospital and making relationships. You can get customers by going to the employers or insurance companies. You get a lot of those. Those are the best, by the way.
HR departments and
HR departments.
corporations.
You want lots of different sources of client type, and what it really takes is having that mindset shift or perspective shift to say, okay, what is it that I'm really doing?
It's a family show.
Right. And just like anything that's mindset, and Taylor will tell you this as well, because I hear people that say, well, I just say Airbnb because everybody will know what that is. What you speak is what becomes reality.
Ooh, that's
right.
deep.
And that's really it's beyond this conversation, but stop saying it. If you don't want it to be true, stop saying it, because if you go around telling people I have an Airbnb, or I Airbnb my property, or I have an Airbnb business, that's what you're speaking into reality. That's what you're speaking into existence.
And you're going to start believing it.
And it may feel like just a convenience, but it will actually manifest itself in what your business really is. So that's my advice.
Oh, that is deep. I'm impressed.
I hope that helps. I did end up talking more. I'm sorry.
You always do.
Does it bother you when I talk more?
Not really.
Okay.
Unless we're talking about like designing.
Do you concur? Doctor, do you concur?
I concur.
That's from that movie, Catch Me If You Can.
Oh man, that's been a long time since
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
got
that.
Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
based on a real life guy
Yeah.
that kind of went around, and it's a great movie, by the way.
Oh, it's been a long
But
time.
he would like pretend, he would convince people that he was like an airline pilot and get like, he would fly in for free, and he just like got a costume, right? And he got a position as like the head doctor at some hospital. And there's a scene in the movie where there's a patient doing something, right, that going into some kind of arrest or has some kind of wound, and they bring him out, and of course he doesn't know anything because he's not a real doctor. And that's what he does. He just comes out and he's like, what do you think, doctor? And they would tell him, and then the other doctor, he's like, do you concur? He's like, you guys do that. So that's why I said that.
Alrighty. I'm not sure how we got on that topic.
I go down rabbit holes.
You go down rabbit holes. So, well, we hope this was helpful. And we go into depth into this, not just this, but also the 45 plus customer types that you can serve. So on the podcast.
On the podcast, yeah. That was the one that dropped Monday.
On Monday.
Yeah.
Yep. So go check it out.
So go check out the podcast. Don't forget, we also have the Cashflow Couple community. It's separate from, we're actually broadcasting this from our business page, the Cashflow Couple, but we have the Cashflow Couple community, which you can come join. It's a Facebook group. It's totally free. And if you want training,
We have that too.
don't forget to go to thecashflowcouple.com and sign up for that. It's free for a month. FREE, and just in case you didn't catch that. And we have a lot of pre-recorded training on there where we talk about this kind of stuff.
We
And
actually start with this
yes, and mindset's always the first thing
because
you
mindset
should
is
learn.
so important.
So go check it out and let us know what you think in the comments. And anything else? Signing out?
I concur.
I concur. Talk to you guys later.